Paul Goldsmith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very pleased to take a call on this bill, and I was intrigued to hear from the Greens spokesman that this apparently the government is being punitive on what it's doing with the student loans bill. Punitive, which is amazing to me because the New Zealand student loan scheme is amongst the most generous in the world. And if you look at some of the figures here, I've got figures from the latest distribution of public spending on student financial aid. New Zealand spends about 42% of its tertiary education on student financial aid. That's higher, much higher than any of the other countries. Australia's only 32, Canada's only 15, United Kingdom is 30, and United States is 20. And as a result, over a part of our overall budget, we spend very, very heavily on student financial aids and primarily through the student loan scheme. And it has been a very generous scheme. And the previous government, in my view, was reckless in its approach. And it was just one of the many things that previous government did that left the country pregnant with financial deficits for the next 10 years because of all the promises and all the looseness and laxity that they engaged in. And so while it might be a seductive notion to be generous with other people's money, it's not at all a worthwhile thing to be leaving the country headed onto an endless line of deficits. And so this government had to do something about it, and it has been working in all sorts of areas of the economy, but the student loan scheme has been not left out. And so this government has been set about getting some realistic boundaries around the student loan schemes. And so previously we have reduced lending to lenders who are less likely to repay loans. It makes good sense. We've introduced academic performance requirements on borrowers, requiring students to pass 50% of their full-time courses over 2 years. Again, perfectly good sense. We've stopped lending to students who are in default on previous student loans. My goodness, why would you not do that? And we've limited borrowing to 7 full-time studying years. Well, given the fact that every dollar that has been loaned out has been costing everybody else in society around about 50 cents, that's not an unreasonable thing to put some limit around the time. So that has led to some significant progress over the past 3 budgets, and so we've been able to reduce the cost to the government for student loans from 48 cents in the dollar to about 39 cents today, which is a very significant achievement. So what that means is every dollar that we lent out immediately was written down to written down by 48 cents in the dollar when we took over. Now it's down to 39, which is still very significant, but at least somewhat more affordable. And so this is another demonstration of National delivering on one of our key priorities to responsibly manage the public finances. So what does this bill do? As we've heard in the previous readings, Mr. Chair, this bill contains 3 main elements. Firstly, the definition of income is being broadened for the student loan repayment purposes to align more closely with the income that we've used for determining working for families' tax credits. And so if you're based on an income, you need to have a realistic view of income, including trusts and so forth, and that makes good sense. We've also introduced some information matching between Inland Revenue and New Zealand Customs Services, and we've heard lots of whining about that being unreasonable in other parts of the House. How could it be unreasonable if you're living overseas, you're a New Zealander, you've been in default of your loans, i.e. you've been given money by New Zealanders and you're refusing to pay it back? How can that be regarded as unreasonable for New Zealand's customs to share some basic information when you seek to come back to New Zealand or to renew your passport or so forth? And I think that's only something that New Zealanders would be shocked to discover we haven't been doing, and I absolutely agree we should be doing that in this bill. And thirdly, the amendments are being made to revisit aspects of the design of the student loan scheme to ensure that the administration is as efficient as possible. So all in all, I think, Mr. Chair, National is making the student loan scheme sustainable into the future. We do believe that it is important to support students, and we do believe that the sooner they pay back their loans, the better it is for everybody, not just for the nation who is lending the money, but also for those students so they can get on with their lives. And preparing students for jobs in the future. We do have one of the most generous schemes in the world. And Mr. Chair,
Paul Goldsmith.
Mr. Chair, just in conclusion, I think the best thing we can do is encourage students to borrow only very carefully and to pay it back very quickly. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Dr. David Clark.
Mr. Chair. Well, I want to start, Mr. Chair, with